Mino wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the busy corridors of Nexus Prime. The massive trading station orbited Jupiter, and it was always crowded with aliens from 100 different worlds. He had just finished unloading his cargo and needed to buy supplies before heading back to Earth. His ship, the Wandering Star, was old and needed constant repairs, but it was his and he loved it. The trading hub smelled like a mixture of exotic spices, engine oil, and something he couldn't quite identify. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around him. Some had 4 arms, others had scales instead of skin, and a few floated in the air without any legs at all. Minho had been doing cargo runs for 3 years now, so he was used to the strange sights. He stopped at a supply vendor to buy food packets and water filters. The vendor was a short green alien with too many eyes. Minho paid with his credit chip and grabbed his bags. That's when he noticed them. 2 women stood near the fountain in the central plaza. They were identical twins, and they were staring right at him. Their skin was a soft blue color that seemed to glow slightly under the station lights. Their hair was silver and long, falling past their shoulders like liquid metal. They wore matching white suits that looked expensive and well-made. But what caught his attention most were their eyes. They were large and purple, and they were watching him with intense curiosity. Minho looked away quickly. He wasn't used to being stared at, even though humans were still pretty rare this far from Earth. He adjusted his bags and started walking toward the docking bay. He had a schedule to keep. "Excuse me," a voice called out behind him. Minho stopped and turned around. The twin women had followed him. They stood side by side, exactly the same height, with the same smile on both their faces. "Yes?" Minho asked, trying to be polite. "You are human, correct?" The woman on the left asked. Her voice was melodic, almost like singing. "Yeah, that's right," Minho said. "We have never met a human before," the woman on the right said. "We have many questions." Minho shifted his weight from one foot to the other. He really needed to get going, but they seemed friendly enough. "Okay, but I don't have much time." "We understand," the left one said. "Just one question for now." "Sure, go ahead." The twins looked at each other, then back at him. They both smiled wider. "Are you single?" they asked at the same time. Minho blinked. Of all the questions he expected, that wasn't one of them. Yeah, I am." "Why do you ask?" The moment the words left his mouth, something changed. The twins' eyes seemed to light up, actually glowing brighter for just a second. They looked at each other again and nodded, like they had just made an important decision without speaking. "That is wonderful news," the right one said. "We are very pleased to hear this," the left one added. Before Minho could ask what they meant, they stepped closer to him. Not uncomfortably close, but closer than strangers usually stood. "My name is Lyra," the left one said. "And I am Nira," the right one said. "Nice to meet you both." "I'm Minho," he said, starting to feel a bit nervous. "But I really need to go now. My ship is waiting." "Of course," Lyra said. "We will accompany you." "We wish to learn more about humans," Nira added. They fell into step beside him as he walked. Minho didn't know how to refuse without being rude, so he just kept walking. The twins asked him questions about Earth, about his job, about what humans ate and how they lived. They seemed genuinely interested in everything he said. When they reached the docking bay, Minho stopped at the security checkpoint. "Well, this is where I need to go. It was nice meeting you both." "The pleasure was ours, Minho," Lyra said. "We hope to see you again very soon," Nira said with a mysterious smile. Minho nodded and headed through the checkpoint. As he walked down the corridor to his ship, he glanced back once. The twins were still standing there, watching him go. They waved at the same time. Something felt odd about the whole encounter, but Minho couldn't put his finger on it. He shook his head and kept walking. Inside his ship, he started the pre-flight checks. The Wandering Star hummed to life around him. He was about to close the cargo bay doors when his communication panel beeped. It was station security. "This is Officer Krell. Is this the human ship, Wandering Star?" "Yeah, this is Minho. What's the problem?" "No problem, exactly. Just a warning. 2 Valara females were seen following you." "Is that correct? Valara? Is that what they're called?" "Yeah, 2 twins talked to me at the plaza." There was a pause. "Did they ask if you were single?" Minho felt a chill run down his spine. "Yes, they did. Why?" "Because in Valara culture, that question is a formal courtship proposal. If you said yes, they now consider you engaged." "What?" Minho almost shouted. "I just answered a question." I didn't propose to anyone. Doesn't matter to them. Valara females choose their mates for life. Twin pairs always choose one mate together. They take bonding very seriously. You might have a problem, human. Can't I just tell them it was a misunderstanding? You can try, but Valara don't give up easily once they've chosen. Good luck, the communication ended. Minho sat in his pilot chair, staring at the controls. This couldn't be happening. He had just answered a simple question. How was he supposed to know it meant something completely different to aliens? He quickly closed the cargo bay doors and fired up the engines. The sooner he got away from this station, the better. As the wandering star pulled away from the dock, Minho felt relieved. Space was big. The chances of running into those twins again were almost zero. He set his course for the outer colonies and engaged the autopilot. In a few days, this would all be just a weird story to tell his friends back on Earth. At least that's what he hoped. The stars stretched into lines as his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Minho leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Everything would be fine. It had to be. He had no idea that Lyra and Nira were at that very moment sitting quietly in his cargo hold, hidden behind crates of machine parts, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. 3 hours into the jump, Minho was eating a protein bar in the cockpit when he heard a noise from the cargo hold. It sounded like something falling over. He froze, listening carefully. The wandering star was old, and sometimes cargo shifted during flight, but this sounded different. It sounded deliberate. He grabbed the shock stick he kept near his chair and made his way slowly to the cargo hold. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, everything looked normal at first. Crates were stacked neatly, secured with magnetic locks. The lights were dim, casting long shadows. "Hello?" Minho called out. "Is anyone there?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, from behind a large crate near the back, 2 figures stepped out into the light. Minho's heart sank. Lyra and Nira stood there, looking completely calm. They still wore their white suits, though now they looked a bit dusty from hiding in the cargo hold. They smiled at him exactly the same way they had at the station. "Surprise," Lyra said. "We are here," Nira added, as if that explained everything. Minho lowered the shock stick but kept it in his hand. "What are you doing on my ship?" "This is illegal!" "You can't just stow away." "We apologize for the method," Lyra said, stepping forward. "But you left so quickly." "We had no other choice." "No other choice? You could have just stayed at the station." Minho was angry now, but also worried. He was days away from the nearest port. He couldn't just turn around. "We could not do that," Nira said. She moved to stand beside her sister. "You accepted our proposal. We must stay with you now." "I didn't accept anything. I just answered a question. The security officer told me about your customs, but there's been a huge misunderstanding." The twins looked at each other, then back at him. Their glowing eyes seemed sad somehow. "There is no misunderstanding," Lyra said gently. "You answered our question truthfully. In our culture, that is acceptance, but I didn't know that." Minho ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. "Look, I'm sure you're both very nice, but I can't just suddenly be engaged to 2 aliens I met for 5 minutes." "We understand this is difficult," Nira said. "Human customs are different from ours. We have studied your species. Then you should know that humans need time. We date, we get to know each other, we make choices. We don't just answer one question and suddenly get married." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, we learned this. That is why we are here. To give you time. To let you know us." Minho wanted to argue more, but he was stuck. He couldn't throw them off the ship in the middle of space. The nearest station was 4 days away. He would have to deal with this situation until then. "Fine," he said, putting down the shock stick. "You can stay until we reach Outpost 7. But then you're getting off my ship and this engagement thing is over." "Understood?" "Understood," both twins said together, though Minho noticed they were still smiling. Over the next day, Minho tried to ignore his unexpected passengers. He stayed in the cockpit most of the time, running diagnostics and checking his route. The twins stayed in the cargo hold, though he could hear them talking quietly sometimes. He brought them food and water but kept conversation short. On the second day, everything changed. Minho was reviewing his navigation charts when alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on his control panel. The engine temperature was rising dangerously fast. If it kept going, the whole ship could explode. "No, no, no!" Minho's fingers flew across the controls, trying to shut down the main engine and switch to auxiliary power. Nothing worked. The temperature kept climbing. Suddenly, Lyra and Nira were in the cockpit doorway. "What is wrong?" Lyra asked. "Engine malfunction. The coolant system failed. I need to fix it now or we're all dead." Mino was already grabbing his tools and heading for the engine room. "We will help," Nira said. "Just stay here," Mino shouted back. But the twins followed him anyway. In the engine room, Minho opened the main panel and was hit with a blast of hot air. The coolant pipes were cracked, leaking fluid everywhere. It would take hours to fix properly, and they didn't have hours. "Move aside," Lyra said firmly. Before Minho could protest, both twins pushed past him. They looked at the engine for just a few seconds, then began working. Their hands moved incredibly fast, faster than Minho could follow. They didn't need tools. Their fingers seemed to reshape the metal pipes directly, welding and sealing them with some kind of energy that came from their hands. Minho watched in amazement. In less than 10 minutes, they had completely repaired the damage. The engine temperature began to drop back to normal levels. The alarm stopped. Lyra wiped her forehead, leaving a streak of grease on her blue skin. "That should hold until you can get proper replacement parts." Nira checked the connections one more time. The design was inefficient. "We improved it. Your engine will run better now." Minho stared at them. "How did you do that?" "Valara are natural engineers," Lyra explained. "We have an intuitive understanding of mechanical systems. It is one of our species' gifts." "You just saved our lives," Minho said quietly. "Of course," Nira said, smiling. "We are bonded to you. We would never let harm come to you." "We're not actually bonded," Minho corrected, but his voice was softer now. "But, thank you. Really, I couldn't have fixed that in time." That night, Minho invited them to eat dinner with him in the small galley. They talked more, and Minho learned about their world. Valara was a planet of twin pairs. Every Valara was born with a twin, and they shared a psychic connection their whole lives. They could feel each other's emotions and sometimes even share thoughts. "That is why we choose mates together," Lyra explained. "We cannot be separated. What one feels, the other feels." "And you really think I'm the one?" Minho asked. "We know you are," Nira said with certainty. "We felt it the moment we saw you." Minho didn't know what to say to that. Part of him still wanted to refuse, to keep his simple, independent life. But another part of him was starting to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were right. The next 3 weeks changed everything for Minho. After he dropped off his cargo at Outpost 7, he tried to leave Lyra and Nira there. But when the station master heard who they were, he refused to let them stay without proper documentation. Minho was stuck with them again. Worse, word had started to spread across the trade networks. A human with twin Valara suitors was big news. At every port, aliens would stare at them. Some would come up to Minho and congratulate him. Others would warn him in hushed voices that he was in over his head. The twins stayed close to him always, acting like they were already his partners. They helped him load cargo, negotiated better prices with traders, and generally made themselves useful. Minho had to admit they were good at what they did. His profits had actually increased since they joined him. But he still wasn't ready to accept the whole bonding thing. He kept telling himself this was temporary. Then came the pirates. Minho was transporting medical supplies to a colony on the edge of human space. It was supposed to be a simple run, but when he exited hyperspace near the colony, 3 ships appeared on his scanners. They were small, fast attack vessels, and they surrounded the wandering star before he could react. "Cargo ship. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." A rough voice came through the communication system. "Don't try anything stupid and you might live." Minho's hands gripped the controls. He had been lucky so far in his career. He had never been hit by pirates before. His ship had no weapons, just basic shields that wouldn't last long against 3 attackers. "Minho, let us handle this," Lyra said from behind him. She and Nira had appeared in the cockpit and they looked completely calm. "Handle what? We're outgunned and outnumbered. I have to give them the cargo." "No," Nira said firmly. "That cargo is medicine for sick children. We will not let criminals take it." Before Minho could stop them, the twins moved to the airlock. He watched on his internal cameras as they put on spacesuits. But these weren't normal spacesuits. The twins pressed buttons on their white suits and the material transformed, covering their heads with clear helmets and adding small jets to their backs. "What are you doing?" Minho shouted through the intercom. "Trust us," Lyra's voice came back. They opened the airlock and launched themselves into space. Minho watched his external cameras in disbelief. The twins were floating in the void between his ship and the pirate vessels. The pirates must have seen them too, because one of the ships turned and fired a warning shot. That's when Lyra and Nira showed what they could really do. They moved through space like dancers, impossibly fast and graceful. The small jets on their suits let them change direction instantly. Energy formed around their hands, the same energy Minho had seen when they repaired his engine. But this time they used it as weapons. Lyra fired a bolt of blue energy that hit the nearest pirate ship's engine. The ship's lights flickered and died. Nira flew under another ship and touched its hull. Metal screeched and tore as she ripped a hole in the armor like it was paper. The third ship tried to run, but the twins chased it down together. They landed on its roof and tore off the weapon systems with their bare hands. In less than 5 minutes, all 3 pirate ships were disabled and drifting. The twins returned to the wandering star like nothing unusual had happened. When they came back inside, Minho just stared at them. "What? What are you?" "We are Valara," Lyra said, taking off her helmet. Her silver hair floated around her face for a moment before settling. "Did you think we were weak?" "Our species has been fighting wars for thousands of years," Nira added. "We are trained from childhood in combat. These pirates were nothing." Minho sat down heavily in his pilot chair. "You could have told me you were basically super soldiers." "You never asked," Lyra said with a small smile. "Besides, we hoped we would not need to fight. But we will always protect you." After they delivered the medical supplies, Minho stopped at a busy trading station called Haven's Rest. He needed time to think, and he needed advice. The first person he called was his best friend Daehyun back on Earth. Daehyun's face appeared on the video screen. He was grinning before Minho even said anything. "I heard the rumors. Is it true? You have twin alien girlfriends?" "They're not my girlfriends," Minho said tiredly. "It's complicated." "Complicated how?" "Dude, everyone is talking about you. The human who caught the attention of Valara nobility." Minho blinked. "Nobility? What are you talking about?" Daehyun's grin faded. "You don't know?" "Minho, the Valara are one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They're rich, influential, and very proud. If these twins are interested in you, they're probably from an important family." Minho looked over at Lyra and Nira, who were buying supplies across the station plaza. "They never mentioned that." "Of course they didn't. They probably don't want you to feel pressured. But man, you need to be careful. If you reject them, it could cause a serious incident. The Valara take bonding very seriously." "How seriously?" Daehyun leaned closer to the camera. "I did some research after I heard about you. Valara twins who are rejected sometimes lose their psychic connection. They can get really sick and sometimes they die." Minho felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "What?" "Yeah, it's not every time, but it happens. The bond between twins is so strong that if they focus all their emotions on one person, and that person rejects them, it can break something inside them. I'm not trying to scare you, but you should know what you're dealing with." After the call ended, Minho sat alone in his ship for a long time. He watched Lyra and Nira through the window. They were laughing about something, moving in perfect sync like they always did. They looked so alive, so full of energy and hope. Could he really reject them, knowing it might kill them? But could he accept them, giving up the independent life he had always known? That night, an old trader named Gorvin approached Minho at a bar in the station. Gorvin was a Thulian, a species that looked like walking lizards. He had been trading in the galaxy for over 60 years. "You're the human with the Valara twins," Gorvin said, sitting down without being invited. "Word travels fast," Minho muttered into his drink. "Listen to me, young human. I've seen a lot in my time. I've seen species come and go, wars start and end, loves bloom and die, but I've never seen Valara twins choose someone outside their species before. Do you know what that means?" "That I'm in trouble?" Gorvin laughed, a dry, rasping sound. "Maybe, but it also means you're special somehow. Valara don't make mistakes. If they chose you, there's a reason. My advice? Stop fighting it. Stop trying to run. At least give them a real chance. What if I'm not ready? Then tell them that, be honest. Valara respect honesty above all else, but don't string them along, and don't reject them out of fear. That's all I'm saying." As Gorvin walked away, Minho realized the old trader was right. He had been running, not just physically, but emotionally. He hadn't given Lyra and Nira a fair chance. He had been so focused on what he might lose that he hadn't thought about what he might gain. Maybe it was time to stop running and start listening. 2 months after meeting Lyra and Nira, Minho decided it was time to go home. He hadn't visited Earth in over a year, and his younger sister Gina had been messaging him constantly, demanding to meet the alien twins everyone is talking about. Minho was nervous about bringing them home, but he figured his family deserved to know what was happening in his life. The wandering star descended through Earth's atmosphere on a clear spring day. Minho landed at the Seoul spaceport, and Gina was waiting for them at the arrival gate. She was 23, studying engineering at the university, and she had never been good at hiding her emotions. When she saw Lyra and Nira step off the ship behind Minho, her eyes went wide. Then she squealed with excitement and ran forward, grabbing Minho in a hug. "They're beautiful," Gina whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "You didn't tell me they were this beautiful." "Gina, please," Minho said, embarrassed. His face turned red. Lyra and Nira bowed politely, copying the human gesture they had seen in videos. "Hello, Gina, we have heard much about you. Minho speaks of you often." Gina bounced on her toes. "I have so many questions. Come on, let's go home. Mom made enough food to feed an army." As they rode the train to the family apartment, Minho watched the twins looking out the windows at Earth's cities. They seemed fascinated by everything. The buildings, the people, the trees and parks. Even though they came from an advanced civilization, they looked at Earth with wonder. "Your world is beautiful," Nira said softly. "So much green, so much life." "Valara is mostly silver cities and blue oceans," Lyra explained. "We have nature preserves, but not like this. Not wild and free everywhere." Gina leaned forward. "Is it true that you can read each other's minds?" The twins smiled. "Not exactly," Lyra said. "We feel each other's emotions. Sometimes we know what the other is thinking, but it's more like intuition than reading thoughts." "That must be amazing," Gina said. "It is all we have ever known," Nira replied. "We cannot imagine being alone in our own minds." At the apartment, Minho's mother had indeed prepared a feast. The table was covered with traditional Korean dishes, including kimchi, bulgogi, rice, and at least a dozen side dishes. His mother fussed over the twins, making sure they tried everything and asking if the food was too spicy or too strange. Lyra and Nira tried each dish carefully. They seemed to enjoy the flavors, though Minho could tell some things were very different from their own food. "This is wonderful," Lyra said, and Minho could tell she meant it. The variety of tastes, the way they worked together. "It's like music," his mother beamed with pride. Later, after dinner, Gina took the twins to her room while Minho helped clean up. His mother cornered him in the kitchen. "They're good girls," she said in Korean, knowing the twins couldn't understand. "They look at you the way I looked at your father." "Mom, it's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because they're aliens? Because they're different?" His mother shook her head. "Your father and I came from different provinces. My family thought I was crazy to marry him, but love doesn't ask permission. It just happens. This isn't love. They barely know me." His mother touched his cheek gently. "They know you enough to leave their home and follow you across the stars. That takes courage and love. Don't be afraid of it." That night, Dae-hyun came over to meet the twins. He brought beer and his guitar, and soon the small apartment was filled with music and laughter. Dae-hyun asked the twins about their world, their technology, their culture. He was genuinely curious, not just being polite. "So explain the twin thing to me," Dae-hyun said, strumming his guitar absently. "You're always together? You never want separate lives?" "We are two halves of one soul," Nira explained. "Being apart feels wrong, incomplete. But what about individuality? Don't you want your own experiences sometimes?" Lyra tilted her head, thinking. "We are individuals. I am not Nira and she is not me, but we are also connected. It's like..." She struggled to find the right words. "Like harmony in music. Two notes that sound better together than apart." Dae-hyun nodded slowly. "And Minho is supposed to be the third note." "Yes," both twins said together. "That's beautiful," Dae-hyun said. "Weird, but beautiful." Later, when it was just the four of them sitting on the apartment balcony looking at the city lights, Gina asked the question Minho had been afraid to hear. "Why did you choose my brother? There are billions of humans. Why him?" The twins were quiet for a moment. Then Lyra spoke. "When we first saw him at the station, we felt something, a pull, like recognition." She looked at Minho. He was carrying heavy bags, but he stopped to help a small alien child who had dropped their toy. He didn't have to. No one would have blamed him for walking past. But he stopped. Then at the supply shop, the vendor tried to cheat him. Nira continued. The vendor thought Minho wouldn't notice. But Minho did notice, and instead of getting angry, he just smiled and said he would shop somewhere else. He was kind even when he didn't have to be. That's when we knew, Lyra said. Humans are special because you choose kindness when you could choose anger. You choose hope when you could choose fear. Your species is young in the galaxy and you've made mistakes, but you keep trying to be better. Gina wiped her eyes. Okay, now I'm crying. Thanks for that. Over the next week, the twins experienced more of human life on Earth. Minho took them to the Han River, where they watched families having picnics and couples walking hand in hand. They visited Gina's university and saw young humans learning and dreaming about the future. They attended a traditional wedding and saw how humans celebrated love and commitment. But the most important moment came at a small restaurant near Minho's old neighborhood. The owner was an elderly woman who had known Minho since he was a child. When she saw the twins, she didn't stare or act surprised. She just smiled and brought them extra side dishes. Anyone who makes our Minho smile like that is welcome here, she said in broken English. After she left, Nira looked at Minho with shining eyes. She doesn't even know us, but she accepted us because of you. Because you're part of her community. That's what humans do, Minho said. We take care of each other. Even strangers become family. Lyra reached across the table and took his hand. It was the first time she had done that, and Minho didn't pull away. Her skin was warm despite its blue color. We want to learn how to do that, Lyra said. We want to understand what makes humanity special. Not just study it from books, but live it, with you. For the first time, Minho truly understood what they were offering. They weren't trying to change him or control him. They wanted to be part of his world. They wanted to learn what it meant to be human, even though they never could be. I'm starting to understand why you chose me, Minho said quietly, but I'm still scared. I'm scared of losing myself. I'm scared of failing you both. We're scared too, Nira admitted. We've never bonded with someone outside our species. We don't know if it will work. But we want to try, Lyra added, if you'll let us. That night, lying in his childhood bed, Minho made a decision. He wasn't ready to fully accept the bond yet, but he was ready to stop running. He was ready to give them a real chance to see where this journey would lead. In the morning, he told them they would stay together. Not as bonded mates yet, but as partners, as friends learning to be something more. The twins accepted this with grace and patience. They understood that humans needed time, needed choice, needed to feel like they were walking forward of their own free will. It was a very human solution to an alien problem, and somehow that made it perfect. 3 months after visiting Earth, Minho received a message that changed everything. It came through official channels marked with the seal of the Valara High Council. His heart sank when he saw it. They found us, Lyra said quietly. She and Nira had been expecting this. The message was formal and cold. It demanded that Minho present himself on the Valara homeworld within 10 days. The council wanted to meet the human who had caught the attention of Lyra and Nira, daughters of House Valora, one of the oldest and most respected families on their planet. I thought you said your family knew about me, Minho said. They knew we were interested in a human, Nira explained. But we didn't tell them we had already begun the bonding process. We wanted time to let things develop naturally. Why does the council care? Lyra sighed. Because we are nobility. Our choices affect political alliances, trade agreements, and social standing. They want to make sure you are worthy. And if I'm not? The twins looked at each other, their faces troubled. Then they will ask us to break the bond, Nira said softly. But we won't, Lyra added quickly. We've made our choice, but the process will be painful for everyone. The journey to Valara took a week. As they approached the planet, Minho was struck by its beauty. It was smaller than Earth, but covered in silver cities that gleamed like jewels. Blue oceans stretched between massive continents. The architecture was elegant and flowing, nothing like the sharp angles of human buildings. They landed at the capital city, where a formal escort was waiting. The escorts were Valara guards, tall and imposing in their ceremonial armor. They treated Lyra and Nira with respect, but looked at Minho with suspicion. The council chamber was enormous, with ceilings that stretched up into the clouds. Crystal pillars lined the walls, and the floor was made of polished stone that reflected everything like a mirror. At the far end sat 7 council members on raised platforms. They all wore robes of deep purple and silver. In the center, on the highest platform, sat an older Valara woman who looked remarkably like Lyra and Nira. Her silver hair was longer, her blue skin had faint lines of age, but her purple eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Mother," Lyra and Nira said together, bowing deeply. So this was their mother. Minho bowed as well, trying to show respect. "Rise," the woman said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "I am Matriarch Savora of House Valora, and you are the human Minho who has captured my daughter's hearts." "Yes, Matriarch," Minho said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Do you understand the seriousness of what you have done? By answering their question, you entered into a sacred bond. This is not a casual thing for our people. I understand that now, Matriarch. At first I didn't know, but I've learned." Another council member spoke up, an old man with stern features. "Yet you have not completed the bond. You keep our daughters in limbo, neither bonded nor free. This is cruel." "It's not his fault," Lyra said, stepping forward. "We agreed to give him time. Humans are different. They need to choose freely. Choice is a luxury, not a right," the old man said. "You are of House Valora. Your bond affects us all." Matriarch Savora raised her hand for silence. "Miho, I would speak with you alone." "My daughters will wait outside." Lyra and Nira looked worried, but they obeyed. Minho was left standing alone before the council. His heart was pounding so hard he was sure they could hear it. Once the doors closed, Matriarch Savora's expression softened slightly. She descended from her platform and walked closer to him. Up close, Minho could see the wisdom in her eyes and also the worry. "I am not here to frighten you," she said. "I am here as a mother, worried for her children. Do you know what happens when Valara twins are rejected? I've heard. They can lose their connection. They can get sick. It's worse than that." Savora walked to a window overlooking the city. "They don't just lose their connection to each other. They lose their will to live. I have seen it happen. Twin pairs who pour all their love and hope into a mate only to be rejected, they fade away like dying stars." Minho felt sick. "I never wanted to hurt them, I know. But intent doesn't matter. Only result matters." She turned to face him. "So I must ask you directly, human. Will you bond with my daughters or will you reject them? I need an answer, and I need it within 3 days. 3 days? That's not enough time. It is more than enough. You've spent months with them. You know them. You know yourself. Either you want this or you don't." Minho felt trapped. "What if I need more time to be sure?" Severo's eyes were sad but firm. "Then you are rejecting them. Love does not need certainty. It needs courage. If you wait for the perfect moment, for absolute certainty, you will wait forever." That night, Minho couldn't sleep. He was given rooms in the family compound, a beautiful place with gardens and fountains. But he felt like a prisoner. Lyra and Nira were not allowed to see him until he made his decision. It was tradition, they said. On the second day, Savora took him to a place she called the Hall of Bonds. It was a quiet building filled with records of every bonding in Valara history. She showed him images and videos of twin pairs with their chosen mates. Some mates were Valara, but there were a few from other species too. "See this one?" Savora pointed to an image of twins with a tall insectoid alien. House Karana bonded with a Thrixian ambassador 2 centuries ago. It was controversial, but it worked. They had a long, happy life together. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I want you to know that cross-species bonding is rare, but not impossible. If you truly love my daughters, the bond can work. But you must commit fully. No half measures. No keeping one foot out the door in case you want to run." She showed him another image, this one of twin women who looked thin and ill. "These are the daughters of House Morana. They bonded with a mate who could not fully commit. He loved them, but he always held part of himself back. Eventually he left. They survived, but they never fully recovered." Minho looked at the sad faces in the image. "I don't want that to happen to Lyra and Nira. Then don't let it. Make your choice and stand by it. If you reject them, do it cleanly so they can heal. If you accept them, do it completely so the bond can be strong." On the third day, Minho was brought back to the council chamber. This time, Lyra and Nira stood on one side of the room. They looked scared. Minho stood in the center and the council members looked down at him from their platforms. "Have you made your decision?" Matriarch Savora asked. Minho took a deep breath. He thought about the past few months. The danger, the confusion, the fear, but also the laughter, the companionship, the feeling of being part of something bigger than himself. He thought about what his mother had said. That love doesn't ask permission. He thought about what Gorvin the old trader had said, that Valara don't make mistakes, and he thought about what Savora had just told him, that love needs courage, not certainty. I have, Minho said clearly. I accept the bond. I want to be with Lyra and Nira. The twins' faces lit up with joy. They started to move toward him, but Savora held up her hand. You understand this is forever, that you cannot change your mind later? I understand. You understand that you will be bound to them, that their pain will be your pain, their joy your joy? Yes. Savora smiled, the first real smile Minho had seen from her. Then I welcome you to House Valora, Minho of Earth. May your bond be strong and your life be long. The council members nodded their approval. Lyra and Nira ran to him, and for the first time since he met them, Minho embraced them without fear or doubt. He felt something click into place, like a puzzle piece finally finding where it belonged. The bonding ceremony would take place the next day. But in that moment, holding Lyra and Nira close, Minho knew he had made the right choice. It wasn't the safe choice or the easy choice, but it was his choice, made freely and with full knowledge, and that made all the difference. The bonding ceremony was scheduled for dawn. Minho spent the night alone in his rooms as tradition required. He should have been nervous, but instead he felt calm. For the first time in months, he wasn't running from anything. He was choosing his own path, but fate had other plans. At 3 a.m, emergency alarms blared throughout the compound. Minho jumped out of bed and ran to his window. The sky was lit up with flashes of light, explosions. His door burst open and a guard rushed in. Come with me now, the guard shouted. We're under attack. What, who's attacking? No time, run. Minho followed the guard through the corridors. Other Valara were running too, some carrying children, others heading toward defensive positions. The beautiful compound was turning into a war zone. They reached a transport ship in the courtyard. Lyra and Nira were already there, along with Matriarch Savora and several council members. What's happening? Minho shouted over the noise. Pirates, Savora said grimly. A large fleet. They're hitting multiple cities, trying to steal our technology. Can your military stop them? Eventually. But right now they're spread too thin. This ship will take you to safety. No, Lyra said firmly. We're not running. Our people need us. Nira nodded in agreement. We're trained fighters. We can help defend the compound. Before Savora could argue, the transport ship exploded. A missile had hit it directly. The blast threw everyone to the ground. Minho's ears were ringing. Through the smoke, he saw figures approaching. Pirates wearing heavy armor and carrying weapons. Get behind me, Lyra shouted. She and Nira stepped forward, energy forming around their hands. They were ready to fight, but there were too many pirates. At least 20 of them, all heavily armed. Minho's mind raced. He wasn't a fighter like the twins. He wasn't strong or powerful. He was just a cargo hauler, but he had spent years navigating dangerous situations, avoiding conflicts, finding creative solutions to impossible problems. That's when he noticed it. The compound's main power generator was visible from the courtyard, a massive structure that provided energy to the entire building. And the pirates were standing right next to it. Lyra! Nira! He shouted. The generator! Can you overload it? The twins understood immediately. Yes, but the explosion would destroy half the compound. Not if we control it. Channel the energy upward. Use it as a weapon. It was crazy. It might not even work. But they didn't have time for careful plans. The twins looked at each other, their psychic connection allowing them to communicate in an instant. Then they moved as one, running straight toward the generator. The pirates fired at them, but Lyra and Nira dodged with impossible grace. They reached the generator and placed their hands on its surface. Blue energy flowed from their hands into the machine. The generator began to hum, louder and louder. The pirates realized something was wrong and started to retreat. Minho! Nira shouted. We need you. What? We need a third perspective. We're too similar. We need someone who thinks differently. Minho didn't understand, but he ran to them anyway. Lyra grabbed his hand and placed it on the generator. Suddenly he felt it. The energy flowing through the machine, wild and chaotic. He could feel Lyra's thoughts, Nira's emotions, all mixed together. And he understood. They were trying to control the energy, to shape it, but they were so in sync that they couldn't see alternative paths. They needed his human randomness, his different way of thinking. Minho stopped trying to control the energy and just let his mind work naturally. He thought about water flowing downhill. about electricity following the path of least resistance, about how his old ship's engine would sputter and redirect when under stress. The energy responded to his thoughts. Instead of exploding outward, it shot straight up into the sky like a massive blue beam. The pirates who hadn't retreated fast enough were caught in the column of light. Their weapon systems fried, their armor locked up. They fell to the ground, helpless but alive. The beam lasted for 10 seconds before fading. The generator powered down safely. Lyra, Nira, and Minho collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Savora ran to them. "That was incredible." "How did you do that?" "I don't know," Minho gasped. "It just felt right." Lyra looked at him with wonder in her eyes. "You completed the bond. Right there, in the middle of the battle. We felt your mind join with ours." "The bond isn't just emotional," Nira explained, helping him sit up. "It's also mental. Now we can share thoughts when we need to, but your human mind works so differently from ours. It adds something we never had before." "Chaos," Minho said with a tired laugh. "I added chaos to your perfect harmony." "Not chaos," Lyra said gently. "Creativity, adaptability, all the things that make humans special." The pirate attack was repelled within the hour. The Valara military arrived in force, capturing the remaining pirates and securing the cities. But the story of how Lyra, Nira, and their human mate had defended House Valora spread quickly across the planet. 2 days later, the formal bonding ceremony finally took place. But it felt like a formality now. The real bond had been formed in fire and danger, in trust and desperation. Still, Minho appreciated the ceremony. It was a recognition of what they had become. In front of the council and hundreds of guests, Minho spoke the traditional Valara vows. He promised to protect, to cherish, to be one with Lyra and Nira for as long as he lived. They spoke the same vows back to him. Then Savora placed a silver band on each of their wrists, identical marks that would remain forever. "You are now bonded," Savora announced. 3 minds, 3 hearts, 1 soul. After the ceremony, there was a huge celebration. Minho was introduced to countless Valara nobles and officials. Everyone wanted to meet the human who had bonded with the twins of House Valora. But what surprised Minho most was how many other mixed-species couples came to congratulate him. An old Valara man approached with his mate, a green-skinned alien from a species Minho didn't recognize. "We've been bonded for 40 years, the man said. "It's not always easy being different species, but it's worth it. Welcome to the family." That night, back on the Wandering Star, the 3 of them sat in the cockpit and looked at the stars. The ship had been repaired and upgraded by Valara engineers as a bonding gift. It was faster, stronger, and more reliable now. "So what happens now?" Minho asked. "Now we live," Lyra said simply. "We continue your cargo runs. We explore the galaxy. We build a life together." "But differently than before," Nira added. "Before you were alone. Now you're never alone. Is that okay?" Minho thought about it. 3 months ago, the idea of never being alone would have terrified him. But now, feeling the gentle presence of Lyra and Nira in his mind, knowing they were always there if he needed them, it felt comforting instead of suffocating. "Yeah," he said. "It's more than okay. It's perfect." As the Wandering Star launched into space, beginning their new journey together, Minho realized something important. He hadn't lost his independence by bonding with Lyra and Nira. He had gained something better. He had become part of something larger than himself, while still remaining who he was. That was the human solution to the Valara bond. Not losing yourself in another person, but finding yourself more fully by connecting with others. It was a lesson that would change not just his life, but the way the galaxy viewed both humans and Valara. 1 year later, Minho sat in the office of the Nexus Prime Station Master, the same station where he had first met Lyra and Nira. But he wasn't there as a simple cargo hauler anymore. In the past year, their small operation had grown into one of the most successful independent trading companies in the sector. "Your delivery record is remarkable," the station master said, scrolling through data on his screen. 98% on-time delivery, 0 cargo loss, and you've handled some of the most difficult routes in the galaxy. How do you do it?" Minho smiled. "Good partnership, and a really good ship." Through the window of the office, he could see the Wandering Star docked at the premium berths. The ship had been upgraded twice more since the bonding ceremony. It was faster, carried more cargo, and had defensive systems that could handle most threats. But more importantly, it was home for the 3 of them. I'm authorized to offer you a corporate contract, the station master continued. Exclusive routes, guaranteed income, full benefits. You'd never have to worry about finding work again. Thanks, but no, Minho said. We prefer staying independent. The station master shook his head in amazement. You're turning down millions of credits? Money isn't everything. We like choosing our own jobs, helping people who really need it. That's worth more than credits. As Minho left the office, he found Lyra and Nira waiting for him in the plaza. They were wearing practical work clothes now instead of the formal suits from when he first met them. Lyra had her silver hair tied back, and Nira had a smudge of grease on her cheek from working on the ship. Did you turn them down? Lyra asked. Of course. We talked about this already. Nira smiled. We know, but we wanted to make sure you weren't having second thoughts. It was a lot of money, I'm sure. Come on, we have a pickup at Dock 17. As they walked through the station, Minho noticed the stares they still got. But the stares were different now. Not suspicious or curious, but respectful. Other traders nodded to them. Station workers called out greetings. They had earned a reputation. At Dock 17, they met their new client. She was a young Valara woman, alone, looking nervous. When she saw Lyra and Nira, she relaxed a little. Are you really them? She asked. The twins who bonded with a human? We are, Lyra said gently. And you are? My name is Kira. I need to transport some medical equipment to a colony that's been hit by a plague. But no one else will take the job. The colony is in disputed space and the payment is small. Minho checked the coordinates. The colony was indeed in a dangerous area, right on the border of pirate territory. Most haulers would refuse the job, especially for the amount of credits she was offering. We'll do it, Minho said without hesitation. Really? Kira looked like she might cry. But the payment is enough. This is medicine for sick people. That's all that matters. As they loaded the cargo, Kira stayed to help. She kept looking at Minho like he was some kind of celebrity. Can I ask you something personal? Kira said finally. Sure, Minho replied while securing a crate. How do you make it work? The bonding? I've heard stories, but I want to know the truth. Is it hard? Do you ever regret it? Minho paused to think. Is it hard? Sometimes. We come from different worlds, different cultures. We don't always understand each other right away. But that's true for any relationship, even between two humans or two Valara. Lyra came over, putting a hand on his shoulder. The bonding gives us a foundation. We can feel each other's emotions, so we always know when something is wrong. We can't hide from each other. That sounds scary, Kira said. It can be, Nira admitted. But it also means we solve problems faster. We don't let resentment build up. We talk about everything because we have to. And the regret? Kira asked Minho specifically. Do you ever wish you were alone again? Minho looked at Lyra and Nira, feeling their presence in his mind like a warm light. No, never. Being alone used to feel like freedom. Now it would just feel lonely. After they left Kira at the station, the wandering star headed toward the disputed zone. The journey would take 3 days, and they used the time to catch up on maintenance and relax. This was Minho's favorite part of the job. Just the three of them, flying through space, talking about everything and nothing. On the second day, they received an urgent message. It was from Daehyun back on Earth. Minho, you need to see this! Daehyun's face appeared on the screen, excited. You're famous, look. He sent them a news article from the Galactic Trade Federation. The headline read, Human-Valara Partnership Revolutionizes Independent Trading. The article talked about how their success had inspired other mixed-species crews. It mentioned how they combined human adaptability with Valara engineering skills and psychic coordination. But more than that, it discussed how they were changing attitudes about cross-species relationships. Apparently, bonding between different species had been declining for generations. Most species stuck with their own kind. But Minho, Lyra, and Nira were proving that different species could not just coexist but thrive together. We're accidentally changing the galaxy, Minho said with a laugh. Is that a problem? Nira asked. No, it's just weird. I never wanted to be famous or important. I just wanted to haul cargo and see the stars. You still do that, Lyra pointed out. You're just doing it with company now. They delivered the medical supplies to the colony without incident. The colonists were grateful, and the sight of sick children getting treatment made the dangerous journey worthwhile. On the way back, they stopped at a small asteroid station to refuel. That's when they saw him, a young human man, maybe 25 years old, standing nervously in the station plaza, and approaching him were two alien women, not Valara this time, but Thrixians with their tall insect-like bodies and multifaceted eyes. The human looked confused as the Thrixian spoke to him. Minho couldn't help himself. He walked over. "Excuse me," he said to the human. "Do you need help?" The human looked relieved to see another human. "I think so. These ladies just asked me something, but I'm not sure what it means. They asked if I was single." Minho smiled. He knew exactly what that meant. The Thrixians were asking the same kind of bonding question that Lyra and Nira had asked him. "That's a very important question in their culture," Minho explained. "If you answer yes, it means you're open to a relationship with them. It's a big commitment." The human looked at the Thrixians who were waiting patiently. "But I just met them. How can I commit to something like that?" "You can't, not right away. But you can give them a chance. Get to know them. Let them get to know you. See where it goes. Is that what you did?" The human had noticed Lyra and Nira standing nearby. "Eventually, yeah. It took time. It took understanding. But it was worth it." The Thrixians clicked their mandibles, a sign of approval in their species. One of them spoke in broken English. "Human give wise advice. We patient. We wait." The young human looked overwhelmed, but also curious. "I'm Taman," he said to the Thrixians. "And yeah, I guess I am single." The Thrixians trilled with happiness. Minho caught Lyra's eye, and they shared a knowing smile. Another human was about to start the same crazy journey they had. It would be different because every relationship was unique, but the core would be the same. Two different species learning to bridge the gap between them. As they left the station, Minho felt something he hadn't expected. Pride, not for himself, but for what they represented. Humanity was still new to the galactic community. They weren't the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but they had something special. The ability to connect with anyone, to adapt to anything, to find common ground where others saw only differences. That night, in the quiet of their ship, the three of them sat together in the cargo hold. It had become their favorite place to relax, surrounded by crates and boxes, the hum of the engines in the background. "Do you think we really changed anything?" Minho asked. "Or are we just a strange story people will forget?" "We changed ourselves," Lyra said. "That's enough. And we gave others hope," Nira added. "We showed them that different doesn't mean incompatible." Minho leaned back against a crate. "I never set out to be a symbol or an example. I just wanted to live my life." "That's exactly why it worked," Lyra said. "You didn't try to be anything except yourself. That authenticity is what humans do best." Looking at them, Minho realized how much had changed in just over a year. He had gone from being a lonely cargo hauler to being part of something bigger. Not just a bonded trio, but a bridge between species. A proof that love and partnership could transcend biology and culture. The galaxy was vast and full of different beings. But underneath all the differences, everyone wanted the same things. Connection, purpose, someone to share the journey with. Humans understood that instinctively. It was their greatest strength. As the wandering star flew through the stars toward their next destination, Minho closed his eyes and felt the presence of Lyra and Nira in his mind. Two alien women who had asked a simple question and changed his life forever. He wouldn't have it any other way. In the distance, on dozens of stations and colonies across the galaxy, other humans were meeting other aliens. Some would bond, some wouldn't, but all of them would carry forward the lesson that Minho, Lyra, and Nira had proven.